Now, another thing that's been ruining this show for me this season is The Flash. Now, this is not because I don't like The Flash or I don't like The Flash as a superhero or that The Flash show sucks or anything like that. And actually, I'd say generally on the whole, I actually like The Flash TV show, which is being made by the same people that make Arrow. And actually, one of the theories as to why this season of Arrow hasn't been all that great is because the creators are kind of and the writers and everyone involved they're kind of uh, they're stretched too thin or whatever, and essentially they have to worry about two shows, and especially towards the second half of the season of Arrow, there's a lot of crossovers between the two and things, and it's just made it so they're kind of burnt out, or they're either burnt out or they're using all their creative energy and all their good ideas on the Flash, and they're leaving nothing for Arrow. Like Arrow's kind of like an afterthought. But I mean, who knows? But anyway, so generally, in my opinion of the Flash, it's a pretty good show. Most of the stuff's pretty good. The only thing that really stands out to me that's really bad, that really sucks, is the whole Iris West character. And CW, they seem to have this thing where it's almost like a network mandate because out of all the major networks or the broadcast networks, the CW goes after the female audience the most, and they seem to have this thing where like they have to have relationship drama shit on all their shows because it's gonna they think that's what females respond to. So, it's not just a friggin' testosterone fueled fucking superheroes fighting each other machismo thing. You kind of have this balance of this relationship drama shit, and it really takes away from the show. I mean, they got the Eddie Thawne character who's basically does nothing on the show other than to be a foil for fucking the Flash and his fucking feelings for Iris West, and it's it's useless. Like it's like those parts I just totally just tune out. I just don't care about that shit. It's so contrived. The fucking grown ass adults dealing with relationship drama as though they're fucking high school teenagers, and it's totally unbelievable. It totally takes me out of the show. And that's saying something because this is a show where fucking the a lot of the characters and the villains and things, they more or less have magic powers. And that doesn't take me out of the show as much as fucking shitty relationship drama that doesn't seem realistic at all, and people not acting like real people and just acting like fucking cartoon characters. And it's but with keeping with the getting back to the magic powered people thing, the problem I have with the Flash as it relates to Arrow and being a spin-off of Arrow and being set in the same universe is it's a question of suspension of disbelief. So the first couple of seasons of Arrow, pretty grounded, pretty gritty, grounded, realistic, whatever you want to call it. It had the very Christopher Nolan Batman, here we go again, kind of tone. So I had those kinds of expectations that it's I mean, other than some like heightened science, like some super science with like the earthquake machine or the Miracle friggin' super soldier serum, other than that stuff, it was fairly believable. Real life could happen in the real world. I mean, yeah, a guy being on an island for 5 years isn't gonna make him a fucking vigilante superhero, but whatever. He has semi-heightened human physical skills. Okay, I can buy that. So my suspension of disbelief is at like X amount or whatever. So the Flash, it kind of totally changes my expectations now because they kind of try to explain it away with science, but there's what happens in the Flash is the whole conceit of the whole fucking show, the thing that sets everything in motion is that there's this bad guy who sets off this machine to blow up, and this thing called the particle accelerator, and it basically gives random people in the city of Central City like powers of like what they were doing at the time the machine blew up or something. So, for example, some guy was in the gas chamber or something. He was, death penalty, and the machine blows up, and as a result, he turns into a poisonous gaseous man. Or there's a guy who's basically I forgot his name. Oh, Blackout. His name's Blackout. He's basically DC's Electro. He's basically diet, caffeine-free, Dollar Tree, bootleg merchandise, supermarket, bakery department, reduced rack, day-old bread Electro, and he got his powers from being struck by lightning at the same time, or getting electrocuted at the same time the machine blew up, or it's stuff like that. I mean, it's so ridiculous, right? But they're trying to say it's science because it has particle accelerator and has to do with accelerated particles or some shit that I guess actually has some basis in like real life science or something. But I mean, it's bullshit. It's an excuse to have a bunch of supervillains randomly pop up, and I think it's funny that for the most part, like 95% of these characters, they dub them metahumans, are either a good guy or they're a bad guy. Like they use their powers to become superheroes or supervillains or super criminals, whatever. And there's never just a person who's turned into a metahuman who's just like just a regular person. Or maybe the idea is that we just don't hear about them. I don't know. But anyway, so the metahumans, they're basically like DC's mutants, pretty much. They're diet caffeine free, Dollar Tree bootleg merchandise, supermarket, bakery department, reduced rack, day old bread mutants. Or probably more like Inhumans. And the problem I have with this is, of course, like I said, the suspension of disbelief. So now we have people running around with superpowers, whereas before the idea was that this was supposed to be realistic, the show. It wasn't supposed to be a show with fucking people with abilities where they can just do any random bullshit. They can control people's minds. They can shoot lightning from their hands. They can fucking teleport. They can shapeshift, control the weather. All these other things that these metahumans do on Flash. And it's ridiculous. I mean, it might as well be magic. And I liked the show better when it was more realistic. I didn't like having to adjust my expectations, like readjust my suspension of disbelief 2 seasons into a fucking show that my expectations were the show was going to be more like grounded per se. And it also kind of has this problem where, oh well, it just so happens that these metahumans are only popping up in Central City where Flash is because that's where the the particle accelerator blew up and it affected people on like a random people within a certain radius, and it seems like the radius is within the city. So, I mean, with the exception, I guess, something that happened the second part of the season of Arrow, these metahumans never leave the fucking city, so they only ever fight Flash. Now, if one of these metahumans showed up on Arrow, Arrow would have a hell of a time defeating him because he's not superpowered. He's not a metahuman like Flash is a metahuman. But it always just seems to work out that they never leave the fucking city, pretty much, and the Flash can take care of him, like, no problem. He never meets a metahuman that can fucking, like, I don't know, he's not like, basically like a god or something. He has some sort of crazy power that, the Flash can't stop. Like, the Flash just always, his speed always trumps him, like, no matter what. So that also kind of becomes a problem when you have these Arrow Flash crossovers. And you think that Flash, who's a good guy, who Arrow gets along with, he's never like, hey, I got this Ra's al Ghul guy who's giving me all kinds of shit. Can you please come over here, use your super speed, kick his ass real quick, and, can we be done with this guy? It's like, the thing with the Flash's powers, too, is that he's basically a god. When you think about it, like, if you take his powers to the furthest extreme, like, logical extreme, he's basically fucking stoppable. And you'll actually see on the Flash, which is, it's funny, because it seems like his powers only, like, work enough that the villains can get the upper hand on him, and he can fight back and eventually defeat him. Like, they always seem to be evenly matched. Like, the Flash never just is able to just defeat him easily like he should be able to. Like, they basically nerf the Flash's powers when it's convenient. So he'll actually stop. Like, even though he's super insane fast, he will actually slow down so slower villains can punch him. Like, it's not realistic. I don't know. Whatever. But you just kind of have to go with it, I guess. But as far as these crossovers go, yeah, it's stupid. Like, why can't fucking like he just go up Barry Allen? Like, hey, I have all these villains here in fucking Starling City. Why don't you help me out and we'll work as a team? We'll take them all out. I mean, we've seen that in one of the crossover episodes where the Flash takes out all these mobsters like nothing, because he's a fucking he's a metahuman and he can beat these other these non-powered characters like no fucking problem. And it's just stupid. I mean, in an interview, the creators of the show were asked, why doesn't Flash show up at this time, or Arrow show up to help Flash or whatever? And they basically were like, and the Marvel movies have this problem too, where it's like, oh well, the president was captured. Why didn't Captain America show up in Iron Man 3? Or all the shit's going down with Shield and Captain America 2. Why doesn't Iron Man and Thor show up to help out? Like, why doesn't Captain America go get Iron Man's help? So Black Widow, it's things like that. And it's basically the creators said, well, yeah, it's a plot hole. Deal with it. And it's like, yeah, well, sorry, that's not your get out of jail free card, guys. I mean, a plot hole is a plot hole, and it's stupid. And at the end of the day, these shows should not exist in the same universe. I would much rather that Flash, Arrow be their own entities, have a Flash universe with all these metahumans and superpowered people, and have Arrow just be its own thing, and that's it. I really don't want to have completely different expectations for one show and the other show, but yet it's the same universe. It just doesn't work.